Our dream of floating over Cappadocia's fairy chimneys got cancelled.
I am very sorry, but the weather conditions are not safe right now. We have to cancel the flight this morning.
But what happened next changed everything. Hey all, welcome to my new episode on Stop Chasing Success, Start Creating Memories. We just did a 4-day travel to Cappadocia from 21st of December 2025 to 24th of December 2025. In this episode, I am going to share with you our 4-day itinerary and what we actually covered. And I'm also going to provide some tips to young families traveling with kids, aged parents, and also retirees. And of course, the last minute cancellation of the hot air balloon and how my family changed that into a memorable moment. So let's start with day one. Day 1, we started with the highest point in Cappadocia, Uchisar Castle. At around 60 meters tall, carved entirely into soft volcanic rock, it's the perfect place to understand the scale of this landscape. The climb is steep, especially if you are with kids or older parents, but every level reveals a new view. From the top, you see villages, valleys, and fairy chimneys stretching in every direction. From up here, it's easy to understand why people have been drawn to this place for thousands of years. We headed back and spent the evening strolling through the Göreme town, enjoying the cafes, the shops, and just soaking in the atmosphere. Pigeon Valley connects Uchisar to Göreme through an incredible canyon of rock formations. These aren't natural caves, they are hand-carved pigeon houses. For centuries, locals raised pigeons here and harvested their droppings to fertilize crops in this volcanic soil. Pigeon poop was so valuable, it was literally treated like currency. If you are traveling with kids or older parents, this is a great gentle walk where you can choose how far to go and still enjoy the views. Next, we visited Derinkuyu underground city, one of the deepest underground cities in Cappadocia. This network goes down to about 85 meters across around 18 levels and once housed up to 20,000 people hiding from invasions. They could seal off sections with massive rolling stone doors. Down here, it stays a constant 10 degrees Celsius year around, which meant that while the surface was freezing in winter, this was actually a warm refuge. There are churches, wine cellars, stables, even schools carved into the rocks. And when you finally step back out into the open air, fresh air has never been felt so good. We headed back and spent the evening strolling through the Göreme town, enjoying the cafes, the shops, and just soaking in the atmosphere. Day 3. We woke up early with one mission to explore the heart of Cappadocia, the iconic fairy chimneys that have captivated travelers for centuries. If you have ever seen a picture of Cappadocia, you have seen these formations. These distinctive cone-shaped rock structures look like they belong in a fantasy novel. They are not fantasy, they are geology in action, created over millions of years as volcanic ash and rock eroded at different rates. Some chimneys are over 40 meters tall. Walking through the fairy chimney landscape, you realize how small you are. The shapes are almost otherworldly. Some look like ancient sentinels. For centuries, people carved homes into these chimneys. You can still see the ancient window openings, the smoke holes from fireplaces. This is Cappadocia everyone comes to see. Standing here in person, it exceeds every expectations. From the fairy chimneys, we made our way to Zelve, one of Cappadocia's most significant archaeological treasures. It's an abandoned village carved entirely from volcanic rock, spanning 8,000 square meters of interconnected dwellings, storage rooms, churches, and monasteries. What struck me was the intimacy of it all. You can walk through rooms where families lived hundreds of years ago. You can see chimneys, niches where oil lamps hung, carved beds, and storage areas still visible in the rock. You can still see some footmarks on ceilings for ancient fires. Zelve was inhabited until the 1950s when the site became unstable, but the history remains, frozen in stone. The views from Zelve are breathtaking. You are standing inside the fairy chimneys, looking out at the landscape. The entry is $12, 12 euros per person. You are not just seeing architecture, you are seeing how people adapted, survived, and thrived in one of the world's most unusual landscapes. Our final stop was Goreme Open Air Museum, the crown jewel of Cappadocia's rock-cut architecture. Over 30 Byzantine churches carved directly into rocks, spanning the 10th to 12th centuries, all connected by winding passages carved through the stones. We explored the Church of the Apple, named for frescoes believed to symbolize fertility, the church with bells, featuring saints with ornate robes, the Buckle Church with some of the most detailed Byzantine artwork in Cappadocia, the Snake Church with frescoes of snake believed to represent Satan or spiritual renewal, and the Dark Church again, with frescoes so dark and mysterious. These aren't museums in the modern sense. They are sacred spaces carved by hand, hidden inside a mountain, preserved by the very rock that protected them. The passages connecting churches feel like walking through an underground monastery. Some are so narrow you have to turn sideways. The craftsmanship is mind-boggling. Every surface was carved, every wall was painted. The dedication to these spaces is humbling. Walking through Göreme felt like archaeology in real time, discovering Cappadocia's spiritual heart, not just its landscape. We also went to the Dark Church, built in the 11th century. It gets its name from the frescoes. The interior is so well preserved that the church remains almost dark inside. The dark ochre pigments have survived thousands of years. Walking in, you feel the weight of time. You are standing where pilgrims prayed. The frescoes, Christ, Pantocrator, the Virgin Mary, biblical scenes, saints are still vivid after a millennium. The level of detail is extraordinary. The artists were master craftsmen, their skills evident in every brushstroke. Then, the main event of day 3, an ATV sunset safari. For us, this was the best way to cover serious crowds in Cappadocia. Riding through the valleys most tourists never see and ending the day with a golden hour sunset over the fairy Chimneys. Day 4, the moment we had been waiting for. Our hot air balloon ride over all of this. We set the alarm for early morning. We barely slept because all of us are excited. This was the moment we had been planning for months. When we reached the launch site, we could see the crews checking the weather again and again. The wind was stronger than we had hoped. They were on their phones, checking instruments, talking to each other with that serious look you never want to see when you have been dreaming of this. And then the announcement.
I am very sorry, but the weather conditions are not safe right now. We have to cancel the flight this morning.
Cancel due to high winds. All balloon flights are cancelled for morning. Just like that, the thing we flew across the world to experience wasn't going to happen. Being in project management, I always tell my teams and my family, it's only done when it's done. Always have a plan B. I had actually been telling my daughter, don't get too excited until we are actually in the air. But it still hurts. We could have gone back to the hotel and sulked, or we could do something different. In our trip, we planned and understood there are other things that can be done in Cappadocia, which is like a traditional Turkish mosaic lamp workshop in Göreme. Yeah, we have never done that. But what else are we going to do? Because our flight was in the night. When we walked into the workshop, we were surrounded by dozens of glowing lamps and trays of colored glasses. There were 55 different colors of glass to choose from. The instructor was incredibly patient, guiding us step by step as we designed our lamp. At one point, my hands were covered in glue, glass pieces were everywhere, and everyone was focused, and the room was quiet. And somehow, in that moment, I completely forgot about the balloon. The lamp, which you are able to see at the backdrops, was made with my own hands. Cappadocia was the place I came to see from the sky, but ended up creating something from the earth. Something I will keep with me for the rest of my life. Sometimes the best travel moments aren't the ones you plan. They are the one that finds you when your plan falls apart. We never got that balloon ride, but honestly, I wouldn't trade this experience for anything. 4 days in winter Cappadocia taught us that winter here means fewer crowds, lower prices, and landscape that looked like a fairy tale with snow on the fairy chimneys. But more than that, it taught us that flexibility in travel isn't about compromising your dreams. It's about staying open to what each place actually wants to show. And because many of you are traveling with families, young kids, here are few practical tips from our experience. For young families, please note that most balloon operators have age restrictions, and very young kids are often not allowed on hot air balloons for safety reasons. So, if you want to create beautiful memories in Cappadocia, don't rely on the balloon. First, consider a traditional mosaic lamp where everyone can create a lamp to take home, or a traditional scent making workshop, or a traditional coffee making workshop. And if your kids enjoy pony riding, you can also book for that. The lamp workshop, these are hands-on, memorable, and perfect even if the balloon gets cancelled. For families with aging parents, or if you are a retiree, choose activities which is flexible, like walking distance, viewpoints, short valley walks, and the underground city at an easy pace. Göreme is a very beautiful town. Book accommodation close to Göreme town center so you can walk to restaurants and shop without long drives. And for dietary restrictions, vegetarian travelers like us, if you're worried about food, there are a lot of Indian vegetarian restaurants in Göreme. We had no problem finding vegetarian options during our stay in Göreme. I stayed with my family in Kayata's cave suits, and we booked 2 rooms, one for me and other for my kids. Both the rooms per day is SGD 200. We stayed for 4 days, so it's 800 SGD. All my spendings I have put in both SGD, Euro and USD. On 21st, we went to Uchisar Castle. The ticket per person is 6 USD, so it is 24 USD. On 22nd, I went to Derinkuyu underground cities. The entrance per person is 13 euro and for 4 person is 52 euro. On 23rd December, I covered Zelve Pasabag Archaeological Site, Dark Church and Göreme Archaeological Site. So if you need to go to the Dark Church, you need to buy a separate entrance ticket, and I have also provided the Turkey Museum official site, so you can actually either go in person or book in advance. The overall ticket for 4 of us for all these ones on the 23rd December is 152 euros. On 23rd evening, we booked the Sunset ATV ride through booking.com, and the charge per person is SGD 40, so it's around 160 SGD. For the lamp work per person, it was charged to $38, and I booked it through getyourguide.com, so it is around 152. So we have vegetarian options, which I have already told earlier, so it's around 500 SGD. The airport travel to Kayatas and return is around 130 SGD, and for internal local taxis, booking through either Uber or bike taxi is around 150 SGD. So that's the overall spending. If this episode helped you, or you are planning a trip to Cappadocia in winter, hit like, subscribe, and please share it with someone who's also traveling and also need a reminder on stop chasing success and start creating memories. In my next episode, I am traveling with my family to Istanbul, and I will be sharing our memories. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Thank you for watching.